is probably going to help us attract the right person.
When we do put that out for the electric director, I would assume Dave would be involved in those interviews. Will the board have any input or be able to sit in those interviews?
No. Governing bodies, political levels are not involved in personnel decisions.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yeah. Okay.
But if you all know anybody that you think is qualified and you'd like to send this way, please remember when it opens up, send them on in.
Okay.
Do we have a finder's fee attached to that?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
A good cup of coffee, right?
Triple shot, please.
This is more for informational for me. In the past, we always did an evaluation with the electric director, and we didn't for last year. Were we still supposed to? I realize he's now retired, but I assume that if we were supposed to, that then there would be, assuming, depending on what that result was, that there may be a back pay issue here for January to April?
The complexity of that is that the ordinance changed in midstream. I didn't have anybody who had the authority to do that because as an advisory board you don't. As a board you did, and it was in midstream, so I didn't have anybody. The mayor couldn't do it, Cheryl couldn't do it, you all couldn't do it. So from a legal perspective, we just couldn't do it. But to answer your question ongoing, yes, we will do evaluations. Okay. It's that weird, that weird component that we've been dealing with.
Okay, and then was there was a scale set for incentive bonuses, and I thought the number was 2.76 or above. Did that get changed to 2.8?
It was 2.8, yes. 2.76 made you eligible. We had a pool of dollars, 2.76 made you eligible, and when we looked and went through the components, the high performers all fell out at 2.80 and above. So they were paid at 2.80. You're eligible at 2.76, it was paid out at 2.80.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I had one last item based on the information we got tonight from Mary, which I appreciate. With Cheryl being our POC or point of contact, as a housekeeping item, Amy, will you be delivering the meeting minutes to Cheryl via email? And if so, are we being the board or the advisory board, are we able to be copied on that just from a communications perspective?
I have not been instructed.
David, how would you, or Mary, how would you see that?
I actually think the best thing would be for her to send it via email, as we do when we send out other documents, so we would follow the same process.
That's what I thought. That way, if we do have a recommendation for council to consider, i.e. buying, 2 $30,000 spools of copper, that we can get that on the agenda for consideration and approval so that Bruce and his team and with David's support can buy it as an example.
And that'll be part of Dave Green's role in taking those recommendations and making sure that we would put those out in the appropriate format, whether it be through a budget workshop, a city council workshop, or a council meeting. So just like we do with the other areas, but that would be part of his role in that, making sure those recommendations are communicated and then determined which is the most appropriate place that they would be.
And that leads me to my last question. That would mean that Mr. Green will be in attendance at the council meetings or only when necessary?
It hasn't been determined. Let's put it this way, if there's an electric issue, I will be there.
That's a good enough answer.
So that's the short answer, and if requested, I'll be there whenever.
Sure, fair enough. I just want to make sure that we've got the presence. Now that our transition is kind of behind us, we've got the presence, and we as a board can know that the council is getting at a high level what they need in order for us to support Bruce and his team.
Mary, with 3 interim supervisors, directors, do they have the same authority as purchasing policy authority as if we had hired somebody?
We're working through that right now. Good question, and we're working through that. We were working through it today. I can't give you a definite answer, but there will be some authority changes. Mr. Green doesn't have budget and approval authority because he's a consultant, So we're working at what that looks like. He'll make recommendations based on what's coming from, city staff, but as far as doing the actual approvals, that would have to be done from a staff member. So we're working with finance to determine what that looks like, so that we make sure we're compliant with all the laws and the purchasing policies and those things, so. It won't slow up the process, it's just, it hit today and it's like, oh, yeah, we gotta figure that out too, so.
One thing we're planning on, as early as next week is, having just a primer on the current purchasing policy with, finance and all parties out of electric that do purchasing, so we can all get brought up to speed on the current policy. That would be good education for all of us.
Any other questions, comments? I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
All right, so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you've been doing a lot of fishing or something?
No, not really.
Gardening?
Very shot of